Introduction. In this video we sling to Stellenbosch with our flying friends Deon and Mari with their Piper Cherokee 235. En route we land and sleep over again at one of our favourite destinations, Mattanu Private Game Reserve. We then sling to Lambert's Bay, sleep over it for 2 nights at the Bay guest villa. We then sling to Stellenbosch for a 2-night stay at the Krystal Beach Hotel in Gordons Bay and 1 night at the Zalze Lodge. In our return trip we sleep over at the Cherokee Conservancy. We do reviews and provide some general aviation tidbits. Planning. The original idea was Stellenbosch as the main destination for Easter weekend came from Deon and Mari at the beginning of March. We already had a flight planned for Easter to the Natal Midlands, so the planning was moved out by a week. A couple of weeks later, Deon and Mari flew to the coast to visit us at our Groot home to do the next level planning. This required both couples to compromise on some of our preferences. Deon and Mari have not visited Matano yet, and it became the obvious first stopover. Zalze made the second leg too long for us, and we decided on Lambert's Bay instead. With Deon and Mari's knowledge of this quaint west coast town, we decided on at the Bay guest villa due to its position on the harbour and its positive Google reviews. The routing for the first 2 days had to divert slightly for restricted areas, but the direct routing to Stellenbosch was very simple from Lambert's Bay. The weather forecast for each of the planned days indicated no significant weather throughout the preceding 10-day weather monitoring period. This was mainly due to the biggest high-pressure weather system that I have seen before over that part of the country. Our favourite airplane, Whiskey Mike Mike, had to go for a MPI after our Easter weekend flight to the Natal Midlands the week before, and unfortunately got snagged for loose belly rivets, which could not be repaired in time. Our second choice, Foxtrot Charlie Tango, still had the same constant speed prop controller problem, which jeopardized our whole Stolbay safari in Whiskey Mike Mike the preceding December. Getting there. Early on the open sky morning of our departure at Wonderboom, we had to wait for a new prop controller component to be delivered by courier from Cape Town and to be fitted and test flown. Fortunately, everything worked out successfully and we could take off at around 10:30 on runway 29.
Cherokee, going around, north of runway 29. Then you are cleared for takeoff with this count. Climb to 6,000 feet to report outbound. Climb to 6,000 feet, outbound next. Got the Cherokee in sight, cleared for takeoff. Foxtrot Charlie Tango.
Deon and Mari were already well on their way to Matano from Springs Airport. We had a very stable and enjoyable flight to Matano on a now well-known route, remaining at flight level 085 with full radio coverage and intermittent cell phone coverage. The satellite tracking again worked well for us, but since it was Deon's first trip with the tracker, he still experienced some teething problems. Both of us did a standard unmanned joining procedure and landed on the runway 20. The runway was still in good condition, but had some grass on it this time. Nothing else had changed since our review of the runway in our previous Matano video. Both planes refueled from the well-managed on-site browser used for the helicopter. The afternoon game drive with Son Jacques was slightly different this time, as they were in the midst of the annual game auction, which was held virtual online for the first time, due to the COVID-19 fallout.
Seibels wat ons in hierdie hok het en 5 van hulle gekalf hier binne. Die weet ongelukkig van
Review of the lodge. Again, a new chef and some new personnel were on duty this time. The catering, game drive and tented accommodation are highly recommended. The friendly Creek family came to greet us and they welcomed us back heartily. Deon and Mari were also very happy with their first visit to Matano. We can strongly recommend Matano for a stay over. We woke up the next morning to an absolutely clear sky as forecasted. We had a leisurely breakfast at 8:30, after which Nadia took us to the airfield. We took off first, since the Piper had a significant higher airspeed than our Sling 2.
Johannesburg Central, Sling Zulu Uniform, Foxtrot Charlie Tango, good morning.
Both planes had a pleasant and stable flight at flight level 085 over new, very arid countryside, but encountered headwinds of up to 28 knots.
Area, Sling Zulu Uniform, Foxtrot Charlie Tango, 3 nautical miles to the south of Smith at flight level 085, can't get hold of Johannesburg Central. We'll be continuing the routing just outside the Smith restricted area to Lambert Bay. Squawking 2001, Foxtrot Charlie Tango. Copy, Junior Squawky 0106, just confirm Zulu Uniform, Foxtrot Charlie Tango, and you're Sling 2.
Both of the airplanes could not comply to the required 3-digit frequency of the lower Cape Town Central airspace, and we appreciated the help from the higher level Cape Town Central on 125.1 who willingly accommodate us with some traffic surveillance.
Up and away in the magical Sling Highlander, way up doing their thing, soaring through the skies way up above. We keep you in our prayers and shower you with our love. Farewell.
We also experienced some heavy up and down drafts as we approached the escarpment. I had to intercede with quite a lot of throttle work to assist the autopilot to prevent overspeed and getting close to stalling speed. Mari had to assist on their side as they also passed us somewhere close to Calvinia in this turbulent section. The 9,800 feet descent to Lambert's Bay past the Cedarburg foothills was fortunately very stable again. At Lambert's Bay, both of us did a standard unmanned joining procedure, landing on the runway 23, with surprisingly very little wind for a coastal runway. With the headwinds, this flight leg took approximately 1.5 hours more than our preferred 3 hours. Review of the runway. Gravel runway 05/23 is 900 meters long by 30 meters wide, 150 feet altitude with 50 meter safety areas at each end. The windsock is to the west, close to the 23 threshold. There is a parking area with some soft sand patches at the 23 threshold, and some of the hangars there are available for rent for overnight parking. Marcel from the local flying club was very friendly and helpful. Even though there are a couple of isolated houses close by, the airfield is still very safe, and we left both our airplanes safely outside for the 2 days of our stay over. Just be aware that the runner pad is at the end of the safety area of the 23 threshold, and the sand is blown away on the approach side, creating a slight ditch. There is enough runway to rather land in quite a bit from this pad, unlike us who sank too quickly to clear it. George, the owner of the At the Bay guest villa, came to fetch us at the airfield and drove us to our accommodation. After settling into our rooms, we had some rooibos cocktails, specially prepared by the owners, Runel and George. Later that afternoon, we took a leisurely stroll to Isabella's for dinner. This is a lovely restaurant with a harbour view, offering a wide selection of dishes. One waitress messed up our orders, but all our dishes were delicious. After a good night's sleep in excellent beds and linen, we had a delicious 2-course breakfast, well prepared by Jors and Renel, in a very homely atmosphere. We then visited the Cape Gannet or Malgas, which loosely translates as Mad Goose colony. It was very interesting to witness these endangered seabirds' long and short takeoffs on their own airstrips, their warning call approaches, and their bumpy landings. We then went to the original Meisbosskerm for lunch, dropped off and fetched by owner Jors's complimentary shuttle service. This is a culinary experience of note with all the bright seafood dishes and is highly recommended. Review of At the Bay. At the Bay has 4 beautifully furnished, sea-facing en-suite rooms with well-sized balconies. Breakfast and all drinks from a central coffee station are included in these well-priced accommodations. It also has a 3-bedroom self-catering flat available. Located right across the harbour entrance, with several restaurants within easy walking distance. Nothing is too much effort for the friendly and helpful hands-on owners, Jors and Ronel. We can highly recommend a stay here. The next morning we were greeted again by a windless, cloudless sky, and after a delicious breakfast at Isabella's, the owner of Isabella's, Goran, took us back to the airfield. We again took off first from runway 23, with Deon waiting long enough before the takeoff to allow us to land first at Stellenbosch. We had a very stable flight with beautiful Cedarburg and other mountainous scenery all the way, through the Lombard military and the Cape Town Special Rules airspaces at 2,000 feet, past a number of better known towns. ATC clearances had to be obtained from Langebaan military for this route.
Lombard, Foxtrot Charlie Tango, beam Mariesburg. Tibo 124.8, Foxtrot Charlie Tango. Low level traffic in the Malmesbury area, Sling Foxtrot Charlie Tango, 10 nautical miles to the west of Riebeek Kasteel at 2,000 feet, routing to Stellenbosch at 2,000 feet, Foxtrot Charlie Tango. Traffic in the new Stellenbosch flying area, Sling Foxtrot Charlie Tango, just inbound into the area on the northern corner, routing to Stellenbosch at 2,000 feet, Foxtrot Charlie Tango. Traffic in the Santikal area, Sling Foxtrot Charlie Tango, passing 2 nautical miles to the east of your airfield at 2,000 feet, routing to Stellenbosch, Foxtrot Charlie Tango. Stellenbosch traffic, Sling Foxtrot Charlie Tango, 10 nautical miles out from your field from the north. We'll be joining overhead at 1,800 feet in 5 minutes, Foxtrot Charlie Tango.
Okay.
Even though Stellenbosch airfield was quite busy on our arrival, it proved a lot less intimidating airfield than I had always anticipated.
Okay, sy het uitgegaan in Oranje 1.
We followed their strict unmanned joining procedures and landed on runway 19, still just ahead of the Piper.
Stellenbosch traffic, Foxtrot Charlie Tango, turning base, right-hand base for 19er. Stellenbosch traffic, Foxtrot Charlie Tango, final 19er, full stop.
Preview of the runway. The Stellenbosch runway is 760 meters long by 60 meters wide at 321 feet altitude with an asphalt surface. Circuits are to the west with strict noise abatement and descending rules, which are also well explained on their website. MOGAs and AFGAs are available at the centrally located fuel bay. Huge grass parking areas are available along the length of the runway. The windsock is close to the 19 threshold on the western side of the runway. It's a very well utilized airfield, and although there are many hangars, the aircraft is safe to leave outside. Landing and overnight parking fees are only levied for more than 3 days stayovers. Deon satellite tracking worked successfully for the first time on this leg. After anchoring the airplanes in front of the open eating area, we were picked up by 2 cars from Hertz, who took us to their Stellenbosch office to get our rented car. We had excellent service from Jaslyn at Hertz in Stellenbosch, from our initial reservation to the payback of our deposit, and can highly recommend them for a fly into Stellenbosch. We spent the next 2 days at the Krystal Beach Hotel, situated right on the harbour in Gordons Bay, and 1 night at the Zalze Lodge next to the airfield. The rest of our stay and the return journey will be described in another video. And thank you, Father God, for a safe and enjoyable journey in excellent weather conditions as requested. And thank you also to Deon and Mari for an excellent idea and a very enjoyable trip together.